Hey everybody, Shawn here. Welcome to my studio. I'm coming at you with another pedal demo. This one is made by Friedman Amplification and it's called the Dirty Shirley Overdrive. There it is right there. If classic fat rock tones are kind of what you're after, this is probably going to be the box for you. It's actually based on the same circuit as the Dirty Shirley amplifier. It sounds very similar to me. So let's get right into the controls. On your top left corner you have your bass control, and it's a pretty big broad sweep in the low end. Next to that is your treble control. That's top center, so that's going to be more your kind of bitey top end. Next to that you've got your presence control on the top right. That's going to be more of your kind of glassy top end, and these two controls work really well in tandem with each other to just kind of custom tailor the top end of your tone. In the bottom left corner, or at least the bottom row left corner, you have your volume control, and there's quite a bit of output on this box. Next to that is your mid control, and it's a pretty fat mid frequency. And then of course, last but not least, you have your gain control, and it's considered a low gain pedal, but there's quite a bit of gain on tap, and we'll get into that as we get into the demo. And then on the right hand side of the box there's a mini toggle switch called the tight switch, and that adds or takes away low end depending on how you have it dialed, because especially the mid is such a fat mid. If you start dialing that up quite a bit, you may find that the box gets a little harder to control, and you know, you can use this switch to kind of tighten that up. So in the down position you're going to hear a little bit less low end, a little bit more focused mid, and probably some perceived top end because there is a more focused mid and less low end. And then of course in the up position, that's when the box is going to sound the biggest. And that once again is just there to help you custom tailor your tone. I mean, you may have an amp that's kind of tubby or boomy, or you may have an amp that doesn't have a lot of low end, and you can use that to compensate in that way as well. And then of course it's a true bypass switch. In and output jacks are on the sides, and then of course the DC's on the top. So without further yammering on, let's check out this Dirty Shirley Overdrive by Friedman Amplification. Okay you guys, let's check out this Dirty Shirley pedal. I'm going to use my my David Grissom model PRS into my Sir Bella head. You can't see it down there, but I promise you that's the one I'm using. It's out of the shot. So okay, here is just the guitar and amp. And here is the Dirty Shirley. So yeah, really nice, just classic kind of fat rock tone, and that tone is what initially inspired me to kind of write that whole riff. That's kind of how I had it dialed. I mean, this is a different guitar, but it's a similar tone. And what I liked about it is that I didn't really have to roll the volume off to kind of get the amount of expression that I wanted, just going from fingers to pick. Pretty expressive. Even with the gain dialed that low, it's still nice and open sounding. So the first thing I want to address on this is the tight switch, and basically what that does is it addresses the mids and lows. So for me, I kind of liked to dial more mids in on this box, and because it is a really kind of fatter mid circuit, and even the bass circuit is pretty broad, the switch is there to kind of accommodate that. Like if you want to run more bass and mids on the box, it might get a little dark on you, or kind of tubby if you've got a darker sounding amp. So you can throw that switch back and forth and just basically tailor it to whatever amp and guitar, and also the way you're dialing it suits you. So just real quick, I'll just throw it back and forth without touching any controls. So that's in the what would be considered the tight position, or the more focused mid. You can hear how there's more lows and less apparent mid. So that's pretty much what it does. I look at it as kind of set it and forget it. I don't think it's something you'd be constantly changing. You just kind of tailor it to how you want to dial the box, and like I said, guitar and amp, and then move on from there. So we'll go ahead and just leave it in the position that I like, which is the tight position, or the more kind of focused mid position. Okay, so let's look at the gain. This is a lower gain box, but I wouldn't say that it inherently doesn't have quite a bit of gain on tap. So I'm just going to roll it straight across for you and let you hear. So we rolled into quite a bit of gain there, and what I dug about it is it stayed really focused. It didn't take off on me. You could hear when I played bigger chords, you could still hear all the voicing, which is really cool. It tells me it's a box that's been well thought out as far as how it's voiced. So that's the gain. So now we'll just look at the let's roll the mids. The mids are pretty fat and super dialable. So I'll just let you hear it. Let's roll it all the way to the left. I mean, it really scoops out. So if you wanted more of almost like a metal tone, pretty modern sounding. So anyways, that's all the way to the left. There's about 12 o'clock. There's all the way to the right. So you can hear it's a fat mid, and it's nice because you can dial in, you know, all your fat rhythm tones, but also some really cool solo tones as well. So that's the mid control. Now let's look at the treble. Let's do that first. So I'll roll it all, do the same thing. I'll just roll it all the way to the left. So it's pretty, as you can tell, it's pretty darn active. Really nice sweepable circuit, especially for rhythm tones. I really dug how I could get that dialed in. Okay, let's look at the presence control now, and I'll do the same thing. I'll sweep it all the way left. Well, here, I'll let you hear it. About 12 o'clock. Here's all the way off. These two controls work really well in tandem. You know, if you're wanting a little more bite, but not so much of that, the high harmonic kind of hair up there, then you can do that. You can kind of leave the presence where it's sitting and maybe just roll the treble up. But you may find that you don't want so much of that bite. You could back that off and then bring a little bit of just that kind of chimey top. So that's a little bit softer, but it's still got a nice top end characteristic. And once again, for dialing these two guys in tandem was really great for putting together solo tones and rhythm tones, especially within the track. It came in really handy. Let's do the bass control. I'll do the same thing. This is a pretty big bass control. Hopefully I won't dime anything. That's bass off. Now that would be even more apparent if we had the switch in the up position. So you can hear how it'll get pretty huge, and once again you can kind of choose between where you want to keep that tight switch in within the parameters of where you want to keep your bass dialed, and once again guitar and amp combination. So that's pretty much the controls on this thing. And then last but not least, there's the volume control. And there's quite a bit of just volume or output on this box. So we can unity gain it if we want. Like, let's go ahead and just go from the clean tone. So if you really wanted to, like, especially play it like bedroom levels, you certainly could. Let's get a little closer to unity. It's about right there. But, you know, this, you know, box, you can also use it just to push your amp a lot harder. So we could run less gain. So that would be kind of at unity. And then just start pushing the volume. And of course there's a volume jump, but for me that feels much more dynamic and open. But it's nice to know if you did want to run this thing as a kind of that box that's going to save you on when you're, you know, it's 3 in the morning and you're just inspired to work on some chops, it's definitely going to nail that for you. But also you can crank that thing and really have it sound big and open into a pretty darn clean amp. And then of course I will always recommend running any overdrive box into a slightly broken amp. They just are, for the most part, designed to sound best that way. And of course in these demos I always try to keep the amp as clean as possible so you can really hear what the box is doing. But yeah, if you really want your overdrives to sound big and natural and open, they're going to sound better into a semi-broken amp for sure. So that's pretty much it. That is the Friedman Dirty Shirley. If you've got any questions, go to friedmanamplification.com and ask away. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning into my demos. I've got the Bucks and Betty up next, so stay tuned for that. And if you enjoy my demos, please subscribe. All right, guys, catch you next time.